welcome back to Books and Biscuit, a production of Sulphur Springs Truck Patch, where we talk about books that you can find on the shelf at the May House Library and the horses eat biscuit. Alright, so this week we're going to be talking about a book called Stories of Survival, Arkansas Farmers During the Great Depression. It was published in 2011 by the late Dr. William Downs Jr., who taught at Ouachita Baptist University. We picked this book up at Eureka Springs in the Gazebo bookstore, but we will not be tagging that bookstore because the woman who runs it hates the internet and hates social media, and if you want to go down a fun rabbit hole, Google Gazebo book reviews. But anyway, so this isn't a history of the Great Depression in Arkansas. It's actually just a collection of oral history of both black and white farmers during the Great Depression on a bunch of different topics around kind of like running out of money and the world crumbling and how do you make it work. I think that there's a lot of overlap in these times, and Brian is throwing biscuits at the horses so I can keep talking. These times where, you know, we're trying to do preparedness hub, there's flooding, there's drought, there's banks not working like they're supposed to be, the economy feels like it's collapsing, we got war, all that kind of stuff. Maybe there's some stuff in here for us. One of my favorite chapters is chapter 19 that talks about some home remedies. You've got mullein tea, you've got cow patty tea. I've heard of that multiple times before, but not one I've tried. Then there's also like a chapter called way chaotic. There's a chapter called Survival Stories Our Young People Need to Hear. There's some great advice in there, including get a good education, learn a second language, follow your instinct to survive, but do it with your neighbors. Be resourceful, make sure you have a nest egg before it's too late, things like that if you're capable of doing that. There's also a section on racism in the Depression, which is very lacking, and I feel like that's another review. So the book has some problems that I feel like it really doesn't, we're not getting an honest history of that in this book. Why is it on the shelf? I think there's a ton of survivalist content out there, especially right now. There's a lot of romanticization of that, like we're all gonna have guns and make butter or whatever mess. And I think one of the smartest things that we can do right now is actually read more about really difficult times that people have been through, especially regional, because the resources are local there. And take that information and ask ourselves, what do we use, how can we use this to build the future? Do we see any of ourselves in these historical voices? Who do we want to be if people were to write a book about what we lived through much later? What kind of people, what kind of neighbors do we want to be? So you can find this book on the bookshelf, and we will return next week with the same biscuit, the same horses, and a different book. Thank you so much. Goodbye.